Well, welcome. So,
Thanks so much.
okay, so we're basically doing this. We're not quite the League of Women Voters. We don't ask exactly the same questions of each candidate, but we give each of you a platform to say who you are and what you're about and why we should care. And I'll give you 10 minutes to do that, and then we'll have a Q&A, and mostly with questions that have either been prepared in advance by some of our members and or what comes up in the chat. So you've got 10 minutes, Mike, so please.
Sounds great. Well, thanks very much for having me on. And thanks also for all that you do. Your work is really important. And I believe it's truly making a difference. So thank you. And we need that difference. These are chaotic times. They're terrifying times. And we need everybody on board. You know, just this week, this guy has launched an unauthorized, unconstitutional war. Sadly, 6 Americans have died and over 1,000 civilians have been killed. I'm a combat veteran, and I believe the last thing we need are more wars. The Republicans passed this SAVE Act to make it harder for people to vote. This president's calling for nationalizing elections. Immigration agents, ICE, are terrorizing our neighbors and our communities. Trump is out of control, and I'll continue to do everything I can to stop his reign of terror, his incompetence, and his effort to become a king. You know, I've been holding rallies. We had over 1,500 people at my No ICE rallies. I voted for the NDAA to do away with the authorization to use military force. I'm a member of the litigation task force. We've filed 515 lawsuits to stop his illegal activities. And all this is starting to work. You know that we got passed out of the House the extension of the ACA tax cuts, and we've had Republicans even vote for the War Powers Act. And the great news today is the fact that Kristi Noem was fired from her job. And, you know, I've been a very outspoken and very active critic of these folks. I took on the Speaker of the House and shut down the House proceedings when Senator Padilla was manhandled by ICE agents. I voted twice to impeach Trump, and I'm looking forward to voting to do it for a third time. I mentioned the over 1,500 people at the anti-ICE rallies that I sponsored. I was one of the first members of Congress to come out to call for the impeachment of Kristi Noem, and I have no plans on stopping. I will continue because these are important times and these are important things. And unlike my opponent, I will not help fund the campaign of a Republican who wants to cut health care and admitted to abusing his wife. We need to work full-time, nonstop to flip the House and win back the majority. And we need to do that by winning Republican seats. That should be our top priority. And with the majority of Democrats, we will have the gavels to all the committees. We'll set the agenda and we'll have subpoena power. And we need people, when that happens, who are battle tested, who are effective, and have experience fighting Donald Trump and his mega enablers. And I'm the best person for that job. I've spent my life and my career in service to our country. I'm effective. I was able to bring $500 million back to fire victims in our district. I passed the Green Act, which was the most significant climate change legislation to ever pass the United States Congress. And in addition to that, it brought $400 billion of manufacturing investment into our country and created 400,000 jobs and lowered energy costs. I helped do the Safer Communities Act, which was the first gun violence prevention bill to pass Congress in 30 years. And it was my legislation that was responsible for building 1,564 new units of housing because everyone should have a roof over their heads. And as the Ways and Means Tax Subcommittee Chairman, I was able to put in place a minimum corporate tax. So all corporations have to pay something, and put a tax on corporations who do stock buybacks. And it was my effort in part that helped get the additional funding to the IRS to make sure that we had the talent and the ability to go after these corporations and wealthy venture capitalist gazillionaires who circumvent the tax laws. And I was able to do that in that position. And in the majority, when we win back the majority, I'll still be on the Ways and Means Committee. And this time I will be the chair of the Health Subcommittee. And that's going to be very important in my effort to pass Medicare for All. A bill, by the way, that I've been the co-author of for years. I'll continue to work on my Affordability Act to lower the cost of housing, energy, healthcare, childcare, and education. And that's important because dignity should not be a luxury. And we also need to work to protect vulnerable groups of individuals. And all of our work means nothing if people aren't safe and our communities aren't safe. And this includes immigrants, the LGBTQ plus community, women, and whomever the next victim of this president happens to be. And you know, I've done the Know Your Rights seminars throughout our district. I've held workshops for employers and employees. And I'm on major legislation like the Equality Act to make sure people have the protection that they need to have. And people around the world should be safe too. And I know a lot of you have been involved in making sure that the Middle Eastern stuff gets straightened out and people in Gaza are protected. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to say right at the top, I have never received a campaign contribution from AIPAC. I believe in a two-state solution. I believe in a Palestinian state. I believe in a ceasefire. I'm a co-author of Block the Bombs and a co-author of Silver Shield. I do not believe that we should give another offensive weapon to Israel. And I just co-authored the Ceasefire Compliance Act that was just introduced in the last week. I believe we need more humanitarian aid for Gaza and have been a big supporter of that. And I continue to believe that Netanyahu is terrible and we'd be a lot better off with him gone. We need to have fair tax policy, and I've been a leader in that for a number of years, and I've used my position on Ways and Means to promote that. And I believe that we need to empower young leaders. And this isn't something that I just said because it's campaign season. This has been something that's been part of my portfolio for a long time. I started the Student Leadership Council 9 years ago. We have over 250 alum from that program and 134 students enrolled this year. I've been mentoring young leaders for a long time. I have two of my former staffers in elected positions in the Board of Supervisors in Napa and in Sonoma County. And I work closely with young members, and the leading progressive members of Congress have endorsed me, and I work with them. Members like Representative Jayapal, Representative Ro Khanna, Maxwell Frost. And my work in regard to young people have been important. And we have the endorsements to prove it. California Young Democrats, high school Democrats, Sacramento Young Democrats, UC Davis Dems, and the Redwood Empire Young Democrats have all endorsed me. And I'm very proud of that grassroots support. 62% of my donations come from our district. 73% of my donations are $250 or less. 230 local elected officials have endorsed my campaign. That's everyone from Bapu Vaitla to Myra Vega to Christopher Cabalden. And I'd be honored to have your endorsement as well. And I look forward to the questions you might ask.
Okay, thank you. So, first question, same question I asked him, which is, do you consider yourself a progressive? And if so, how would you define progressive?
Well, I believe that I am a progressive. I'm a Democrat. I believe that we need to have a society that allows people every possible opportunity. I believe that we need to have a strong foundation, a strong floor, and unlimited opportunities for everyone. And my voting record shows that. My work proves that.
Well, some of your voting record shows where you've supported Trump on some positions. So when you
What have
explain those votes,
what have I supported Trump on? I don't think that's accurate.
well, specifically the NDAA, which he needed your vote to get across the line.
Well, matter of fact, I referenced the NDAA vote in my opening statement, and
Correct.
that was an authorization bill. And the reason that I voted for that authorization bill is because it took away two AUMFs, authorization to use military force, and that made it more obvious that what Trump did going into Venezuela was illegal to do. And that is going to be beneficial to us as we continue with our lawsuits against him and his administration. I've been a proponent of doing away with the AUMFs for a long time, and we finally got an opportunity to do that.
So that was the trade-off that you had. Okay.
Pardon me?
That was the trade-off that you.
Steve. Chief, it was no trade-off. It was an authorization bill. There wasn't a single penny in that bill.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Huh?
Bear with me. So yeah,
if I could add on to that, probably the best example of my fighting this guy was with the big ugly bill, HR 1. As you probably know, I took that fight not only throughout our district, holding press conferences in every county of our district, including Yolo County, a press conference in Sacramento and in San Francisco. And I used my State of the Union visitor pass to bring Dr. Amy Harrell from Providence Healthcare out to Washington. We held press conferences out here explaining how this bill is going to devastate healthcare for not only our district, but across the country.
Cool. That's great. So let me check the chat here for just a minute. I want to make sure I'm on the right page.
While you're checking, I'll go ahead and fill in the time if you want. And
no, actually, Mike, the question really is, okay, so a year ago in February, you had a town hall in Woodland, if I remember, and you asked what you were doing. You told everyone in your town hall to go out to red districts and talk to them. That's what you asked. You told people in Woodland to go out you told the people to go out and talk to these people, and you set us into the red districts. So how would you assess what you've done in that regard since then?
Well, I've been one of the proponents of and the supporters of sending people to red districts. As you know, I have sponsored buses to red districts to flip seats. I've done that not only in the last election, but I've done it throughout my time in Congress. I've gone myself into red districts. I've gone to walk precincts for Democrats running against Republicans to flip those seats. As a matter of fact, at your request, I donated money to the Bay Area Coalition because that was going to allow you guys to be able to go into different districts. I was on the road for both Vice President Harris when she ran for president. I went to different states at her request. I did the same thing for Hillary Clinton when she ran against this character the first time. You know, I've also sponsored, I think some of you have been on those Zooms that I hold regularly. We did the Adopt a District program where we asked folks from our district to adopt districts. That got put on hold with Proposition 50, as you know, waiting to see what those seats came look like in the end. But the one that a lot of people in our district wanted to adopt was Josh Harder. His district was made more Democratic because of Prop 50. You know that I was a very outspoken proponent of Prop 50. I donated to Prop 50. I walked precincts for Prop 50.
As did we. That wasn't the question, Mike. That wasn't the question.
I took a new district that's 47% new and the reddest district of all the new districts to make sure that we win back the majority.
Well, that's great. No, but the question wasn't. The question was, you asked us to go out to talk to people in red districts, not as electioneering, not during a campaign season. This was in February of 2025. This was after, and the solution at that point was go talk to other people in other districts. And so the question isn't specifically to what happened in 2024. And thank you for the donations to BAC and all those other things. We've done a lot of work ourselves. We elected it. Were it not for our work, I'm not sure Adam Gray would be a congressperson at this point. You know, we did a lot of work in 13. We did a lot of work in 22 as well. We came up short in 22. We understand out of district work, okay? But what the question was in 2025 was not out of district work right now. It's what do you do to fight back against Trump in a situation where we are the resistance, not in just the context of an election. That was the question then. And your answer was for us to go out and talk in the red districts. And so the question was, how would you assess your, how have you done that, you know, to talk to red districts, you know, like going out to Kylie's district or going out to Northern California, those types of things, et cetera. That was actually the question, Mike. It wasn't intended to be.
Well,
okay.
And I don't think my only answer was go talk to red people. There was red districts. There was a lot of things that we can do. And as I mentioned to you, I orchestrated some of those partnerships to go out and do it. I have done it myself. I've been to Kentucky. I've gone to other districts across the country on behalf of both my colleagues I serve with and colleagues and potential colleagues who are running in those red districts. So I've done a lot of that.
Okay. So what would be your solution for taxing billionaires?
The taxing billionaires. I think we need a tax. I think we need tax policy that works. You know that I fought against the tax policy of both Trump administrations and the Bush administration, for that matter. But we need a tax policy we need to increase the top brackets. We need to increase the corporate tax rates, and we need to make sure that we minimize wealthy people's ability to manipulate the tax policy through the IRS. That's why we put extra money into the IRS to allow them to hire people who are equal to the tax lawyers that the wealthy gazillionaires hire to be able to avoid paying taxes. And we were very fortunate to be able to increase that funding, and they had been working well to close what's known as the tax gap until this administration came in and made all those cuts in the IRS.
Yeah, so the hiring the IRS the hiring up strategy was working before Trump came in and ripped it back out.
That's true.
Essentially, no, exactly, which makes sense. But the things that he did in 2018, the billionaire taxes then, were never repealed or never, we didn't succeed in increasing the tax rates between them.
We did. I talked about that already, Steve. We did a couple of things. Out of my tax subcommittee, we put in place a minimum corporate tax rate.
Right.
We increased. We put a tax provision in to tax stock buybacks, so corporations couldn't use stock buybacks to avoid taxes. And in my subcommittee, we also increased the corporate tax rate to 26.5% and increased the top tax bracket to 39.6%, I believe.
9.6.
Those last two provisions couldn't get out of the Senate because you remember that
That's what I'm talking about.
although
we
we
came up
had a
short in the Senate.
majority in the Senate, we didn't have enough to beat the filibuster.
So the House did its job, but the Senate couldn't pull it off, is what you're saying, essentially.
Correct.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. That
On
maps.
that part, we kept the tax on stock buybacks, and we kept the corporate minimum tax. That's in the law today.
Okay. So, do you favor taxing wealth, a wealth tax?
I do.
And how would you structure it?
Well, as I said, we need to restructure our tax policy in a way that includes all of that, where people with a lot of money pay their fair share. And it's not it's going to be a tax policy that is workable, a tax policy that includes all of the aforementioned, and a tax policy we can pass out of the House. I'm working with folks right now. There's a group called I think they're called the Millionaire Tax Group, who are a group of millionaires who are working to increase the tax on people of their income wealth level, and we're working with them on an ongoing basis in the committee.
Okay.
And I think it's important to note, if you look at the Trump tax stuff that they did in the big ugly bill, the amount of money that went to the rich people was just unbelievable. The amount of money that went to people in the middle income was just a pittance. And the fact of the matter is, and we had a number of amendments that we offered in those in the committee hearing, that you can write tax policy that gives people in the middle income and lower income levels a tax cut while not having to give a tax cut to rich people. You can bifurcate it, and that's what needs to be done.
Okay. So what's your position on, so you say you're for Medicare for all?
I am.
And what's your path to get there?
Hey, Steve, I don't say I am. I've been a co-author of the bill for years. I've been endorsed by Representative Jayapal, who's the lead author of that bill, and her organization, Medicare for All.
Thank you. So how would you, I'm confused about how you can repeal what's in the big ugly bill with respect to corporate welfare. That we've done all this tax breaks to the corporations, and just simply changing the rates will get us back to where we think we need to get to. Is that what you're saying?
We have to redo the tax law, and the way you do that is you win back the House, and we go back and we change the tax law. We increase the tax rates that rich people pay, and we allow people in the middle income brackets and the lower brackets to be able to enjoy a tax break. And you also ought to realize that, and I don't think it gets enough attention, that the big ugly bill didn't just give rich people a tax cut, and didn't just cut health care for 15 million people. It also added $5 trillion to our national debt. This is the most dishonest tax policy healthcare cut that's ever been perpetrated on the American people.
Correct. So let's talk a little bit about your funding sources, because that seems to be your funding sources. So you get money from corporate donors and other donors. You've talked about 73% of your donations are less than 250%, but you still accept money from PACs and corporate PACs and et cetera. So you haven't taken any pledges around just doing things personal, just accepting money from small donors or whatever, like some. So go ahead.
I think the best place to start is by talking about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. There's too damn much money in campaigning, and we need to have campaign finance reform. You've done your research on me. You know that I've always supported campaign finance reform. You know that I've been a co-author of the campaign finance reform legislation. You know I was a co-author and voted for H.R. 1 to reform campaign finance laws. I take political action committee donations. I'm proud to take those donations. They're contributions from labor unions, from teachers, from hospital workers, healthcare providers, and the fact is, and you said it already, 62% of my donations are from the district. 73% of my donations are $250 or less. But if the money that I get is all in the open, it's all out there, and there's a difference between taking the employee money and that they donate and taking money from the corporate people who run those companies, and that's an important thing to do. An important difference to note. I think it's also important to note that while we're doing campaign finance reform, it has to be taken into consideration people who can just reach into their own pocket and put $1 million in their campaign. There's a big difference between disclosed money and funds that come from people that you don't even know who they are. And you can see that in the race that I'm in, where my opponent, his average donation is $5,000. And he's money from every place but in the district. I think he has 6 contributions from the district. And these are all corporate people. These are the people that, you can see in corporate. These are the corporate people.
So, but if we could pivot for the last 3 minutes, what we have here, Mike, which is not to talk about your opponent, but to talk about the future. So what's the future? So is your future prescription is that we win back Congress and we turn it back to exactly what it was in 2016?
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, absolutely not. We've got to make some big changes. There's no question about that. And I've been a leader in the big change area. I already mentioned my work on gun violence prevention and my success with the climate change legislation. The most significant piece of climate change legislation to ever pass the Congress.
The most significant piece of climate legislation ever to get overturned by what the Trump administration is doing. Fair enough. A lot of what you did there has been tripped back.
But the important thing is I did it. And it created $400 billion of investment, 400,000 jobs, clean air, national security, and we need to reinstate it. And that is why I am the author of the Affordability Act, modeled after the work that I did in the climate change space. And this will deal with housing prices, healthcare costs, of energy costs again, and we will reinstate those climate change provisions that the big ugly bill did away with.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mike, I think we're at the top of the hour, so I guess so. I'm still a little bit. I just would, if you could spend the last minute of what does the future look like with a new Democratic Congress in the vision of what you want to do to where we're going? Because we're all against Trump, but what is your prescription? What does beautiful look like in your future,
Beautiful.
as opposed to just read? No, but I mean, the Green Act there's nothing. Kudos to you for the Green Act, at least getting it that far and everything else. And there were other opportunities and whatever, but just reinstating that is not where we're going, I guess. So what does that look like, and how is that different from you versus other folks?
Absolutely. Beautiful to me is a Democratic majority where we have the gavels in the hands of the Democrats, where we can put in place policies that address the concerns and the optimistic future of the American people. I referenced to you what I'm going to do in my area. My jurisdiction, in part, is in the tax area. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. That's the most significant committee in the Congress. I will be the number 2 person on that committee in the next Congress, and I will chair the Health Subcommittee. I believe that chairmanship will help me in my effort to enact into law Medicare for all. And I do believe that bringing back all of the investments in renewable energy is one of the most important things we can do. Because if we get everything else right and the climate and the planet burns up because of climate change, it's all for naught. So that is important. And then I mentioned my Affordability Act. Everything's too damned high. You know that. The bill that the Affordability Act that I have deals with housing cost. We're going to further expand the low-income housing tax credit to use that to do what I did with the disaster area housing, the 1,564 new units of housing that my legislation brought about. A first-time homeowners tax credit, bump the cap on the tax you have to pay for your home equity if you sell your house, because that will allow more housing to be freed up for folks. We're going to deal with the healthcare issue, both in the Medicare for all, as well as everything from telemedicine to bringing back the tax credits for folks who buy their healthcare. Education is too expensive. I just introduced legislation yesterday that would cap student loans at 2% and retroactively go back and lower student loans that have already been taken out to 2% to make sure folks are able to get the education that they would like.
Thank you. Okay. Well, the good news is that we are going to win back Congress. And so that's why this primary is so important, because either way, we're going to support whoever comes out of this in November, and we will win in November. So thank you for participating in the forum today, Mike. And we will bid you adieu for now, and we will report back on the results of our endorsement vote probably sometime tomorrow. All right.
All right. Well, thank you all very, very much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate being with you tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.